Is there something that you guys are really proud of?
We eliminated TS. Today, 98% of the queries are handled by a GPT-based, which has the same level of satisfaction.
As a market, do you think no code will eat up code?
I've seen the journey over the last 4 years go from like 100 people company to like a 1200 people company, $8 million to about $65 million revenue. So I've seen that journey of setting up those processes. So excited to share some of them.
When do you stop optimizing for better processes?
Usually there is always juice, but then you have to take a call on prioritization.
Perfect.
You don't really stop, you prioritize something which has more impact.
How do you envision the future of technical education in India?
An engineer at Google,
Yeah.
what do you think he does every day? He is not coding all the time. 80% of the time goes on whiteboarding, thinking a problem कैसे solve करना है.
Coming to your internal engineers, how many of them are from Scalar itself?
Good question.
Welcome to Atomic Processes. Today on the show, we have a guest who I very closely relate to, who is also from a tech background and who built his own startup first. After selling his startup, he joined Scalar in 2021. He leads marketing over there and he grew the revenue from 8 million ARR to 120 million ARR as of today. Manmeet is also the program director at Scalar School of Technology. He is a computer science engineer as a background, but he is somebody who knows the future of technology in this country. They are training students to build the right form of technology. They are training them to build right logic so that they can scale up businesses of this country. All that being said, we also spoke about how no-code technology can disrupt the coding technology, but why coders really make a lot more sense in this industry. If you want to know more about the tech future of this country, also want to understand how rapid scale can be generated and why simple processes that can be automated using AI agents should be actually one of the top priorities in your business, you should go through this podcast in detail. Subscribe now to Atomic Processes because we are just getting started and we have a big lineup of really powerful guests coming in. Thank you so much for being here, Manmeet. We are going to quickly talk a lot about how Scalar School of Technology and Scalar in general is scaling up with strong processes, because the trajectory that you guys have taken is fantastic. And I would really love to know how you guys use technology internally.
Sure.
And that's what the founders would want to know as well. We'll quickly start with a rapid fire first, and then we can go into like other nitty-gritties.
For the audience, since we're talking about process, and like I've seen the journey over the last 4 years go from like 100 people company to like a 1200 people company, $8 million to about $65 million revenue. So I've seen that journey of setting up those processes. So excited to share some of them.
If you could automate one part of your day, what would it be?
Managing the team.
In one word, how do you envision the future of technical education in India?
Industry-led.
Great. What's one book, podcast, or resource that has a deep influence on you and that you keep going back to?
So, book Principles by Ray Dalio. Every Indian should read it.
I think I'll add to my list as well.
Yeah, it actually teaches you to not think in an Indian way. Like India mein bahut respect for elders, it actually teaches you merit-based thinking.
You keep hosting various tech legends at Scalar School of Technology. What is your conversation? What is your favorite conversation so far, and why?
It has to be Bhavin Turakia, founder of Directa Zeta. He's the 95th richest guy in India. So his session was, the entire room, the energy, because he spoke about how he went from like 100 square feet room, literally this studio size, to $1 billion guy. Like he's a billionaire, right? Yeah. And the fact that it's all tech-led, coding-led, like he literally built his empire using tech.
Amazing.
And that entire journey of his, and he spoke about stuff like, it's your moral responsibility to meet your potential. And push. And he spoke about a lot of other things, OKR framework, how does he implement it? So that session definitely has stayed with me.
So Manmeet, tell us more about your journey. You also launched a startup on your own and then moved into Scalar. So tell us more about Klarity and how has the journey been after moving to Scalar?
So it's been about 4 years at Scalar. The first 2 years were building the online business, right, where together working with the founders, the CMO, etc., we scaled it from like $8 million to $65 million. Very smart set of people to work with, a lot of fun, right? And then the last 2 years have been essentially building our own undergraduate program in computer science, which is in a way disrupting engineering education today. Again, super exciting project and a lot of smart people associated there. So that's been the journey at Scalar. This offline business is already a 100 crore booked revenue business in just 2 years. So that's the kind of scale that we are talking about.
Amazing.
So before Scalar, I actually ran an edtech again. It was called Klarity.in, which was essentially an on-demand mentoring platform. That was a new concept back then, where if you want to connect with anyone in any domain, let's say you do tech, and I'm a second year engineering student trying to figure out what I want to do in life, I can just go on the platform, connect with the person. So the way we sort of marketed that was that we used to tie up with colleges, and the entire college would get connected with industry professionals, entire college, right? And then we built use cases of placement preparation, resume preparation. So literally, let's say an industry professional 7-8 years back would review your resume and give you pinpointed feedback for the role that you're trying to apply. So that concept took off. We entered about 300 colleges across India, 5,000 students. And then later there was an acquisition opportunity to do bigger things. And that's how Klarity got acquired by a Sequoia-backed startup.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you. So that journey of building Klarity and I think going back to your atomic processes, like I happened to read Atomic Habits much later, but I realized that a lot of things that we were... some of it. Of course, there are a lot of crazy things in that book of... I still remember that Q wala thing. Yes. So now I keep my gym bag like right in front of me. So there are a lot of crazy learnings in that book. So Q, craving, the work, response and impact. Reward, right? So anyway, so coming back to this. So Klarity was really... like where I feel I really did my MBA because I was implementing stuff and this thing. And I focused a lot on SOPs at that time. For example, if we are doing a program for a college, each step has to be broken down, followed to the T. And there's a program manager who's responsible for like literally McDonald's से inspired है. वो bathroom में लिखा होता है ना कि
everything has to be checked off. Like
ये करना है तो वो होना चाहिए. That's when the output... like our rating on Google is 4.7 stars. Wow. And that only happens with processes. And
your product building journey at Klarity, how did that support you when you started working at Scalar?
See, product, जो लोग अच्छा करते हैं, they are a good mix of consumer understanding, tech, right, and business. Okay. Now, because Klarity pe I was on the ground, that consumer understanding was very strong. Tech, I'm a computer science engineer. I've also been a coder myself, so I understand that. Business, while I'd done an MBA, I was really learning in Klarity. Right. So, just those three coming together well. And when you have to do scale, right? When let's say suddenly you have to do 2,000 mentoring sessions in a week,
right?
Then how do you do that? Like you will need product. You will need like automated journeys of, just say what you see nowadays is very common, right? Ki mentor ko aa jata hai that, hey mentor, give us your availability. Mentee ko aa jata hai
through WhatsApp only your matchmaking of sorts.
Yeah, exactly, right? So we built some of that to optimize, right? So that one program manager can suddenly handle 4x the volume because there's a product to support them.
Great.
This Scalar School of Technology, in year 1, we had a 6 people admissions team and we closed about, we had 5,000 applications and we closed about 191 students. And in year 2, we again had 6-member team and we did 12,000 applications and 440. In year 3, we are planning 30,000 applications and whatever number of admissions, again with a 6-member team.
Amazing.
And that can only happen with good process and product.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that. That is really that's inspirational because it means that there is so much opportunity for you to keep improving with the same team. And technically, there are so many things that people do which a computer can handle. Why not let a computer do it?
Yeah.
So you guys are probably doing what you teach very well at Scalar.
Yeah, I think we have that DNA ki internally fatafat build ho jata hai cheeze.
Excellent. Out of curiosity, when you build things, how much of it is built in-house and how much of it is also like outsourced?
Right. So, I mean, for example, CRM, right?
Right.
In our early days, we used whatever CRM. For example, LSQ is a CRM,
Got it.
Salesforce is a CRM. Our approach has been that, hey, like if you're starting off on something, go ahead and just like take it from the
Off the
market,
shelf.
off the shelf. Now, as you scale and as that stabilizes, the bills also go up, right?
Correct.
Like per month you spend this much.
Correct.
And then there's a point where you start thinking, hey, like, is it worth spending 1 crore a year on this? Or
Right.
should you just put 3 engineers who can just build this for you? Maybe it's like 90% efficient compared to that, but can you build it? So we're going through that journey of like optimizing for costs right now.
Makes sense.
But Scaler is unique in that way because we have in-house capability, and in a way we have a
You have a hiring
force,
funnel of sorts.
hiring funnel, right? Who can help us build this. So that's typically been our approach.
Great. So let's change the tangent now.
Sure.
I really am very curious to know this, that in this world of a lot of AI coming up, a lot of no code coming up, where non-technical people can also build technology. Like for example, Notion is something you mentioned, but there are more sophisticated tools than Notion that can build technology, which does not require coding knowledge. In this world, how do you position Scalar School of Technology overall to show people that coding is still essential?
Oh, sure. First thing to understand, and I think the audience should also try and grasp this, is that an engineer at Google, what do you think he does every day? He is not coding all the time. 80% of the time goes on whiteboarding, thinking a problem कैसे solve करना है, structure कैसे होगा, flow क्या होगा, step 1, step 2, वही breaking it down, right? Problem solving चल रही है. 20% once you've cracked it, you know ये बनाना है, they'll go and code it.
So coding is just the execution, right?
Right. So
the logical thinking is the most important part of.
Absolutely.
And is that what you are teaching at Scalar as well?
Yes. How do you firstly, like, by the way, while we run a tech program, there's a lot of exposure on industry side also. Ki alag verticals mein they do projects. Our kids are working on chatbots. Our kids are working on chatbots in, let's say, hospitality domain. They are doing internships, like I was saying, with a company which is building that pendant, which listens to you and produces transcripts. So, like the idea is to give them a lot of exposure to practical business side of things also. So we teach that. There's a module called Micro MBA, which along with a tech degree.
Basically, you're teaching a technology person how to understand business as well.
Zaruri hai.
Perfect.
Right? And then there is the problem solving part of it, where मतलब जैसे कैसे होता है, when you solve a lot of puzzles, how does your mind develops, right?
Correct.
So it's a lot of those puzzle solving through code, basically.
Correct.
Where you solve it on a paper and then you actually code it. So we teach that, yes.
Amazing. So basically what you're saying is the core remains the algorithm, the logic, the puzzles. The code is the execution part of things.
That's a simplified view. Of course, there is more to it. Like there could be tech problems which are very deep. Like you know what is to be built, but to solve the, let's say, the infra of that. For example, when Facebook had to launch की face recognition 10 years back, तो उसके लिए they had to purchase all the equipment from NVIDIA, all the servers from NVIDIA to set up things in the backend. So DevOps is so all of that is also important. But yeah, I mean, from a pure like no code POV, I think it just makes smarter engineers more efficient.
Understood. Perfect. And that's something that I have noticed, and no offense to anybody, but our traditional technology schools teach purely about the execution part, like how do you code, but breaking down the problem statement into converting into something that is application based.
Learning how to learn is not taught. Problem solving, I mean, वो जैसे इंजीनियरिंग में बिकॉज यू स्टडी मैथ्स फॉर एग्जाम्पल तो आप प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग थोड़ा बहुत सीख लेते हो, पर कोई एक्टिवली नहीं पढ़ा रहा है.
एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग कम हो जाता है.
यस,
अंडरस्टूड. एज अ मार्केट, डू यू थिंक नो कोड विल ईट अप कोड, और व्हाट्स योर टेक ऑन दैट?
आई थिंक व्हाट्स गोइंग टू हैपन इज दैट स्मार्ट पीपल, लेट्स से अ किड हु वेंट टू IB kind of schooling, very sharp, very articulate, understands things well, comes from a business family, let's say. but has no engineering background, but understands the business problem really well. It'll empower a lot of these guys to build. Already happening, right?
Right.
Already there are so many examples. I mean, like when we were in college, website banana was a big thing.
Correct.
Today it's like drag and drop. Anyone can do it. Correct. So I feel that will accelerate with these kind of platforms. Essentially, anyone who can speak English and a smart, logical thinker can become a coder. So I feel technology as a sector is going to go crazy.
Amazing.
अब वो code, no code, वो
doesn't matter.
Doesn't
right?
matter.
So basically, the core fundamentals, if they are taught well, they are able to use whatever mediums that are needed. And in fact, what I have noticed is as soon as you break down the problem statement, you hit roadblocks, and that's when you find the solution.
You use GPT, right?
Of course.
Ab GPT pe person 1 is able to get not able to get a great output, and person 2 is able to. What's the difference?
The difference is in the mindset and
the prompting.
In the prompts.
The prompting is so structured, right, that the output suddenly becomes. So it's how you leverage technology.
Correct. Now, tell me something about your scaling up journey. You mentioned 100 people to 1200 people, right?
People, yeah.
Through that process, there must have been a lot of internal systems that you must have built. So is there something that you guys are really proud of, which is bespoke to you guys?
So, of course, there are two sides to it. One is the business side, one is the academic side to it. So let's say we pick up the academic side, right? Now, the program that we run is an online 1-year master's program in which live classes happen.
Right.
Now, the scale that we run it is that in a particular month, there are 20 to 25,000 people who are attending these live classes. Now, of course, without strong processes around, let's say, the platform itself, right? Now, the platform should be able to handle X number of users in a live class. Now, what we've slowly done is, it didn't happen on day one, is that let's say once a class gets over, the entire thing gets recorded. And of course, the recording is available, but now we've also added the transcript is made of that recording, because the guy is speaking and you can easily use GPT to make a transcript.
Correct.
And the summarized summary of the live class is immediately added on your dashboard.
Wow.
Using that transcript, a quiz is created. What did the instructor teach you? And you have to solve that. Right? There are flashcards which are created.
These are all automatically?
All automated.
Wow.
All automated using GPT. All of this has happened in the last 1 year. There's one more interesting thing. Earlier, we used to have something called teaching assistant. Like what used to happen is that if there's a theory that has happened, now every day after class you're given 10 problems to solve, right? Now when you get stuck in that problem, you will say that, hey, TA, can you help me?
Yeah.
And there used to be a human TA on the other side who used to come, and we had built systems for that. Standard set of questions. TA knows what to answer. They'll talk and sing. We eliminated TS
because everything was structured in a way.
GPT, right?
Amazing.
So today, 98% of the queries are handled by a GPT-based this thing, which has the same level of satisfaction.
Amazing.
And the outcomes. And literally, like it's you can chat live with it. A video, like literally you can say that, hey, this problem I'm not getting it, then that will say, and you know whose voice? Our co-founder's voice. It takes 30 seconds to replicate someone's voice.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. So like if you give a 30-second clip, the model will start speaking like you.
Speak like me. Correct.
Yeah. So our internal engineers have built that kind of systems.
Coming to your internal engineers, how many of them are from Scalar itself?
Good question. So this feature that I mentioned, and it's difficult for people to believe it, while there is a ex-Google guy who heads it, his name is Naman, he's a good friend, the 3 people who actually built it with him initial days were first-year interns from Scalar School of Technology. Wow. Smart kids. Like they really passionate, and वो रात को 2-2 बजे तक ये करके कर रहे हैं.
Coder सब 2 बजे का ही.
Yeah. So those were the guys who actually built some of this initial systems for us.
Which shows the proof of work as well.
Absolutely.
Like what you guys are teaching is what you guys are implementing as well.
Absolutely.
Which is great to know.
Yeah. But yeah, typically the bar of engineers at Scalar in general is pretty high. We are a product-based company, and the way that differs from a regular service-based company is that the caliber of the engineer in terms of the things we spoke about, right? Problem solving,
Right.
how quickly you can get it done, what's the scale at which you build products before. That is different than a product-based engineer.
Amazing. Good to know. On the outside, we just see the top line, we just see the fundraising, but on the behind the scenes, there are so many smaller things, smaller nuances that are taken care by systems. Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. I think often, which is what you have to tell your teams also, that hey, please stop. Like don't just rush into doing stuff. Can we create an SOP around it, right? And you often see that when you do that, the chaos starts going away, and things that you would have thought कि यार ये कैसे productize हो सकता है, वो हो जाता है. And you love it. Like that feeling is wow. कैसा ही machinery बन गई है.
Exactly. And as soon as that happens, you don't need to think anymore. The people can do everything without putting that extra effort in thinking.
Sure. I mean, I'll give you, if you don't mind, I'll give you an example. Now, see, education is a trust business, right? Now, anyone who purchases a product in, let's say, a master's program, you would want to speak to someone, right? An alum, someone who's gone through that journey. Now, earlier, like you put a request to the sales guy, the business development guy, the counselor, and he will manually connect you to someone. He'll ask you for preferences. And it's happening for 2 years, 1 year. One day we said that, hey, can we like automate this, because this is so important. And like as a user, if I have gone to, let's say, DJ Sangvi, the college that you went to, I want to know someone from that college, and let's say someone from my city. Can you give me that information? The BDA will take like 2 days to come back, right? What if you productize that? So we created a simple product, which is a directory, which lists down all the alums, and we tagged all of the data points and now the user can do it directly. So simple, right?
Absolutely.
And that led to like 20-25% improvement in our numbers.
Amazing.
Such a simple thing to do, but because no one was thinking it from a productize or the process POV, there's a lot more to this. I mean, I'm just summarizing this, but I completely believe in this, genuinely.
Great. So I would like to know a little bit more about what you mentioned right now. How do you start identifying that this needs to be solved? Like at Scalar, how did you figure out that this is a problem statement that could be solved for with tech?
I mean, see, firstly, it always starts with trying to like clearly define what is it that we are chasing. Like in this case, we are chasing a metric called L2P, lead to payment.
Correct.
Now, when you break down L2P and you see like multiple factors, one is how well is the counselor explaining to this thing. Then within trust building, there are many things that you can break it down into, right? Like student interactions. Let's say, what are the kind of placement reports that we are publishing, etc., etc. Now, when you break it down, like within that, let's say this example that I just gave is like an overlap of trust building with students.
Correct.
There, I feel that typically you come up with a hypothesis that, hey, I feel that this idea should work. Can we do an MVP? Where we create something very hacky. Let's say, Notion पे आपने एक table बना दिया जिसमें आपने 50 rows populate कर दिया, and then you float it.
Correct.
And you test it out. Like you actually take it to consumers very hackily, very quickly, and you get feedback. Now there we define success metrics. That
so you validate the idea with some North Star metrics probably.
It has to be. Success metrics define होता है कि for the set of people that we tried them with, what's the feedback? Did L2P, the metric, go up or down? And if it actually goes up, then you go crazy. You just
go all out.
Go all out.
Right. Can you explain maybe a little bit more about the journey that you take from your MVP, which is your Notion, to building something which is an app or a system, which is completely software driven? Because somebody who does not have any technical knowledge can build things on Notion.
Yeah.
But when it has to be conveyed to a developer, it really needs to be structured in the right way, right? Yeah. So how would you go about that?
Sure. So usually, typically what happens is that there's someone who's a business expert, there's a product expert, right? Now, on the business side, the business guy typically knows in a directional way कि ये करना है. And that guy is the most important stakeholder because he is closest to consumer. He really understands deep.
Correct.
You sit down with that person, you try and like have a conversation around like, hey, what are the challenges that you face? So let's say that in a typical case like academics, let's say the business stakeholder is now academics.
Correct.
Right? Academics will say that, hey, I want to improve engagement of learners.
Yeah.
Right? That's a broad problem statement. Now you as a product guy, right?
Yeah.
If I'm a product guy, what I'll do is that firstly, whatever inputs I'm getting, ki engagement abhi kaise ho raha hai, there's a live class that happens.
Correct.
There is some problems that we give on a daily basis to this thing. So you record everything down, you note it down, you structure it well. And then you start thinking ki okay, agar mujhe engagement is basically how much time you're spending on the platform.
Correct.
If that is to be built, then you will start benchmarking. You'll start looking at, okay, who is the best player who's done engagement well? Duolingo.
So you go ahead and do a case study as well, right?
Yeah. You benchmark. You look at different players.
Right.
So okay, coming back, step one is very clearly defining the business problem.
Perfect.
Taking it down. Ki, okay, from a business POV, what metric are we trying to move? And then trying to understand the landscape.
Basically map out the journey, map out the
journey, and all that will come
later. Okay.
But you try and look at like, okay, Duolingo kya kar raha hai?
Right.
So Duolingo, for example, has a concept of streaks.
Correct.
ठीक है.
They are the ones who made it popular, I would say.
Right? Gamify कर दिया कि यार अब रोज एक स्पेनिश का लेसन पढ़ लो, and then you can show off your streak after 100 days कि देखो मैं तो 100 days से स्पेनिश पढ़. ऐसे there are many examples, right? So again, you will look at all of that. Then you go back to your stakeholder, which is academics in this case, and say that, hey, look, I found this. What do you think? And I found XYZ. What do you think? And then jointly try and like break it down. For a student, what does the journey, like you mentioned, looks like, right? For the teacher, what does so अलग-अलग users
all the different stakeholders, you just put them together in like a big map of sorts.
Yeah, आप कोई भी tool ले लो,
Correct.
typical workflows बना लो, user journey बना लो. आप clear metrics define कर लो कि by doing this, what am I hoping to move? So let's say if the metric is simple in this case, how much time the student is spending on the platform, simple enough. There could be marketing metrics.
I'll interrupt there. How did you know that time before there was technology? How did you know about that exact metric?
Okay. So in our case, because again we are a ed tech company, right? So all of these data points were already being captured on Metabase.
Perfect.
And आप उसको वहाँ से download करके you can check for a student कि what is the
right. So you had one metric that in your case L2P is the one that we need to shorten.
Yeah.
And that's something that is the goal of this entire effort that you are taking.
Right.
Let's move further.
Sure.
How does the team go ahead building it now? And how do you actually track if it worked or not?
Sure. So firstly, there is the PRD, right? Product Requirement Doc. So this product guy will define all of this, write down this thing, metrics to be moved, success metrics, all of that, and then get a sign off from all stakeholders.
Okay.
Then it goes to the engineering team. Now the engineering team will look at it, will understand from the PRD. And they typically also try and break it down. They say P0 ये बनाएंगे, P1 ये बनाएंगे,
Correct.
P2 ये बनाएंगे, and then they start releasing. Now typically when releases are also done, in our case, for example, if you're changing the landing page, you will do a A/B test.
Right.
You'll release a feature only to a certain number of people, and you'll see कि वो metric for those people improve हुआ कि नहीं हुआ.
Okay.
And if it actually improves, then you scale it up to 100%. So that's typically how we do it.
Perfect. Quick question: when do you stop optimizing for better processes?
Usually there is always juice, right? Usually. But then you have to take a call on prioritization.
Perfect.
Now, depending on the amount of juice, like let's say there are 3 or 4 projects, you have to understand ki sabse zyada aapka whatever metric, like if it's revenue that you're moving, like you prioritize and there are resources are not infinite, right? It's always limited. So that's how I look at it. So you don't really stop, you prioritize something which has more impact.
Choosing the right things, but there is always something that can always
man, like there is.
Great. Perfect. Thank you so much, Manmeet, for doing this with us. It was a pleasure having you. So in this last 30 minutes, we probably discussed a lot of things about how technology products should be built, how Scaler uses a lot of tech that they use very well internally to basically scale things up, how they also teach the right way to build technology. And that's something that every entrepreneur should be aware of. And finally, one great thing that Manmeet mentioned was optimizing for processes never ends. It just prioritizes, the priority changes, but there's always juice.